Hi guys, so I'm here with my lemsip in my books are my bag or the Keely mug to chat to you about the books coming out in 2018 that I am the most excited for. These are ones that have been on my radar for a few months now. It's not to say there won't be other books in 2018 that come out that I will be really hyped up for, but at the moment these are the books that I know are coming out, that I have sitting in a wish list waiting for release date, that I really want to read when they do come out. So without further ado, in no particular order, I'm just going to go through the books. These aren't in date of release order, but I will tell you the rough release date if I know it. So first up I'm going to mention Cersei by Madeline Miller. Yes, the author of Song of Achilles. Song of Achilles came out quite a long time ago and it is a retelling of the Greek myth of Achilles and his lover Patroclus during the Trojan War. This is the first Greek retelling since that book that Madeline Miller has released, and it has been many years, so I think a lot of people are really excited for this one. Cersei was a Greek goddess or witch, a sorceress who features heavily in Homer's Odyssey, as she is one of the people that Odysseus encounters on his travels back from the Trojan War to Ithaca, and this is Madeline Miller's retelling of Cersei's life. And you know how much I love a good Greek myth retelling, and Madeline Miller is somebody who is highly praised for her previous novel, so I am really looking forward to this one. Cersei is published by Bloomsbury in the UK and it should come out on the 19th of April. So a little while to wait yet, but it will be worth it. Next up is a book that I do have a proof copy of, as a friend had a spare one, but I am so excited for its release. I think it's something that should definitely be on a lot of people's radars, and that is The Gloaming by Kirsty Logan. The Gloaming also comes out on the 19th of April, so a big day for good books, and it is published by Harvill Secker. It is set in the same world as Kirsty Logan's previous novel, The Gracekeepers, which is a world somewhat like our own, but that is entirely flooded, and people either live on small areas of land or for the majority live on travelling boats. And we followed a set few characters in Kirsty Logan's The Gracekeepers that lived in this world, and this is about entirely new characters, so I don't believe you have to have read The Gracekeepers to read The Gloaming. It's just set in the same magical world. You can read them in whatever order, and it's also a somewhat magical world. In the other book you get hints of creatures like mermaids, although I would say it's more low fantasy than high fantasy, and Kirsty Logan's writing is just beautiful. She has a wonderful imagination and I can't wait to see what she has done in her new novel. But my next book is actually a sequel. It's The Curses by Laura Eve, which is published by Faber in the UK and isn't actually supposed to come out until the 6th of September, so this one is really going to keep me waiting. But it is the sequel to The Gracekeepers, which I read in 2017, and it's a young adult witchy novel. It's about a young girl who starts to attend a new school, and there is a group of 3 siblings called the Graces that everyone is obsessed with and believes they are witches, and she too becomes obsessed but also manages to kind of get herself into their inner circle. And obviously The Curses is the continuation of that story, so I can't really say any more about it, but there were some really great elements at the end of the last one that I think set up for a sequel that will be really interesting, and I'm really looking forward to seeing what happens with all the characters. It's a very dark young adult novel and I just thought it was really well done and really captured your imagination, so I can't wait to see what happens to our characters in the next book. My next book, I'm not sure, but may already be out in the US, but it's not out in the UK until the 18th of January, and that is The Book of Joan by Lydia Yuknovich. This is a book I've already heard a lot of talk about and some people review, perhaps, like I said, because it may already be out elsewhere, but it is a science fiction novel set in the future with elements of the Joan of Arc story in there. Joan is a young girl who has united a group of rebels in order to save the world, but they have a foe to go up against. Other than that, I don't know terribly much about the plot, but like I said, I've heard amazing things about it. It's had a lot of rave reviews and I'm just really excited to experience it for myself. We then have an author who I love that has 2 books coming out in 2018, and that is Louise O'Neill. Louise O'Neill is a feminist young adult author whose books are absolutely fabulous. I loved Only Ever Yours. She's also amazing. I met her earlier in 2017 actually, and she was just great in person, just like she is on paper, and I am so excited for both of her new books. The first one, which comes out on the 1st of March, is Almost Love, and it follows a girl called Sarah who ends up in a relationship with a man she's absolutely besotted with but happens to be 20 years older than her, and I imagine she is a teenager because Louise O'Neill's books tend to be young adult and concentrate on that kind of age group, so it's quite a significant age gap, especially at that age, and it's about how this relationship affects her life and how she sacrifices things in her own life for this relationship. And yeah, it sounds like it's going to be very deep, it's going to be very thought-provoking, much like Louise O'Neill's other books. Louise O'Neill also has another book coming out in 2018, which I know a little bit less about. I don't know if the publication date is exactly confirmed publicly. On Goodreads, it just has an expected publication date of May of 2018, but I do want to mention it here so you can keep an eye out. But it is going to be a retelling of The Little Mermaid, and at the moment it seems to be called The Surface Breaks. So that's all I know at the moment, but I am so excited for Louise O'Neill to do a retelling of The Little Mermaid. I just think that would be absolutely phenomenal. I think she's going to have so many excellent twists on the tale that perhaps a lot of us are familiar with, and bring out some really excellent points and themes from that story. So I just think that's going to be wonderful when it does happen. Almost Love will be published by River Run. We then have Folk by Zoe Gilbert, which is another Bloomsbury publication and comes out on the 8th of February. I'm just going to have to read you the blurb for this one because I don't think I can really sum it up, but it sounds stunning, and I heard really good things about it when proofs were going around amongst some people. It says, every year they gather while the girls shoot their arrows and the boys hunt them out. The air is riddled with spiteful shadows, the wounds and fears and furies of a village year. The remote island village of Neverness is a world far from our time and place. The air hangs rich with the coconut scent of gorse and the salty bite of the sea. Harsh winds scour the rocky coastlines. The villagers' lives are inseparable from nature and its enchantments. Verlin Webb, born with a wing for an arm, unfurls his feathers in a defiance of past shame. Plum is snatched by a water bull and dragged to his lair. Little Crab Skerry takes his first run through the gorse maze. Madden sleepwalks through violent storms haunted by horses and her father's wishes. As the tales of this island community interweave over the course of a generation, their earthly desires, resentments, idle gossip and painful losses create a staggeringly original world. It just sounds absolutely beautiful. I think it's going to play on a lot of traditional folklore and fairy tales and weave that in with this really interesting world that Zoe Gilbert has created. We then have Red Clocks by Lenny Zumas, which comes out on the 8th of March and is published by Borough Press. I believe this one is a bit of a dystopian / speculative future book which deals heavily with reproductive rights and women's rights over their body and childbearing and reproduction and conception and abortion and all of these things. For example, abortion is entirely illegal in this book, and which isn't that crazy dystopian, to be fair, because it's illegal lots of places still in the 21st century, but it's tackling those issues, and I do love myself a feminist alternative history speculative future dystopian novel because I think they are really clever ways of bringing to light issues that actually already exist in our current society, and I think this one sounds right up my street, so I'm really looking forward to reading it. We also have Miscegenation, The True Scale of Sexism by Laura Bates. This is a non-fiction book which comes out on the 22nd of February and is published by Simon & Schuster in the UK. So Laura Bates is a feminist academic who's written other books. She started up the Everyday Sexism Project, which then has an accompanying book, and I have previously read and adored. I think it's such a powerful book and a really important book. It's a really important project, and I'm really excited to read something else by her. In this book, Laura Bates looks at systematic misogyny within our society, the stuff that goes on every day that's almost seen acceptable on lots of levels or is just ignored. I think it's something that a lot of us have been very aware of. I mean, it's something a lot of us are very aware of all the time, but has been very much in the media in 2017 at a new level because of the exposure of certain celebrities. This and other topics are explored in this book in a series of essays by Laura Bates, which were originally published in the Guardian newspaper. So in a sense, they're not entirely new, but I enjoy an essay collection. I like reading a lot of similar stuff at the same time to kind of contrast it in my brain and really immerse myself, and I think it's going to be a really great book. And lastly, I want to mention that my good friend Jen Campbell has the sequel to her children's picture book, Franklin's Flying Bookshop coming out in 2018, and whether you are a child or an adult, this is a wonderful, wonderful story about a dragon and a little girl who make friends over books and kind of share the magic of books and information with the rest of the people around them. The sequel does come out in 2018, and I cannot wait to see the story accompanied by Katie Hartnett's beautiful illustrations like in the first in the series. But that's everything for now. Those are all the books I have been eagerly anticipating already for a few months and still have to wait a few months more, but we'll be definitely looking into reading them all in the future. I hope you have found something that sparked your interest in this video. I'd love to know what books you are excited for coming out in 2018. Just put a few more on my radar, please. But until next time guys, happy reading, and I'll see you all again soon. Bye!